Hey guys, I'm back with a new video here. I know it's been a long time, um, and because it's been a long time, there's been a lot of new figures, which means that there's a lot of changes to my display. So I thought I'd do a video on some of the updates and some of the changes. Some of the things are very unique. I thought it would be worth sharing some of the changes. So we'll get right into it here. If you remember from my previous videos, specifically with this display, it was basically like a miscellaneous legends class display, and obviously it's changed. It's because I picked up some figures that made one of the shelves just not work. Basically, a combiner showed up, and that those pieces had to be moved somewhere else, which I'll cover very shortly here. But so the minor changes here basically are, we've got the Master-Made Devastator that showed up, goes really well with a Master-Made Omega Supreme, so this shelf is pretty much just my Master-Made shelf. Nothing really special here. I'm probably not going to get too many more Master-Made figures because I don't think there's even anything in the pipeline for them. But they fit pretty well here, maybe a little cramp height-wise, but it's okay. And then up here, this shelf is obviously a G1 Autobot shelf. I can fit maybe a few more figures here. The new ones are, there's a new Ultra Magnus figure, Cliff Jumper, Bumblebee, and Perceptor, which filled out this space pretty well. But it is getting cramped, just like the Decepticon shelf that was here. So things could be getting a little complicated here. But the good news is I don't have a whole lot of plans for too many more figures here. Maybe some individual figures can fit in here. But if a combiner shows up, it could be trouble. The other changes I made with this display in general is there are now Northlight lights up and down the sides on the back of this thing. You can see them kind of going all the way down on both sides, which is better than the Northlight IKEA Northlight lights. Sorry. And they replaced the Amazon generic spotlights that I had. And those spotlights were okay, but they were giving off a lot of heat. And so I decided I would try the Northlight lights that I'd heard so much about. You'll be hearing more about those later on, I guess, in this video when I get to some of my other pieces. So yeah, this is this shelf. These are the changes to this shelf, and then I'll get into some of the other stuff. There is some stuff I've been teasing, some Marvel stuff going on over the top of this shelf here. I'm not going to show in this video because it's primarily Transformers, and I'll get to the Marvel stuff probably in another video. So we'll step away here and check in on some of the other pieces. So here are my other displays, my main Masterpiece Autobot display on the left that you guys have seen if you've watched my previous videos, and then also my DTOF here on the right, my IKEA DTOF. And not a whole lot has changed really with the figures that are in here, maybe one or two new Masterpiece figures from Fans Toys. No real big deal here. One thing I did do, I would talk about the DTOF here real quick. It's higher now because I added, the IKEA Besta that's basically made for these things almost. Same color, and you can get them I think in maybe a slightly narrower or shorter form factor, but this is the one I picked. I had this IKEA DTOF on like some furniture risers, plastic ones, and just went ahead with the the IKEA Besta, and that raised it another 7 inches I think, so now it's about the same height as the other display. And up top you can see that that's where my Predaking is standing, temporarily anyway, and I need to figure out how I want to light the top of the IKEA. I haven't figured it out yet, but we'll sort it out sooner or later. And then on the left side here, the big change here with this is that the top of this was not used at all, I think. And so I decided that there's enough space up here and it's deep enough and wide enough for me to probably try to use it. And what I did is, if you remember from what I talked about, how this thing was originally acquired, the top of it's all hollow and empty. and it came with two light fixtures for the unit, which I turned upside down and put two smart bulbs in. They were Philips Hue. Now they're Wise RGB lights that are a little bit cheaper, and well, definitely a lot cheaper, but a lot brighter. So they're in there facing up. That's where the red light is coming from. And then since it's hollow, I bought a piece of glass that now sits on top to cover up, basically the empty space, the hollowness, but allowed me to put figures up here. So there's three of these third-party Predacons, and on top of that, I've added, you can see right here on the front, to light the front, there's an IKEA Northfly beam. And all the wires are actually down inside under the glass, which, doesn't look great if you're looking at it from here, but nobody is ever going to see that. So I think it works out pretty well. And especially if I, drop down and look at this from below, I think it does a really good job. Obviously, these figures are sort of temporary. They're part of a whole set that's not completed yet. They do combine. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen at that point, but the good news is that the top of this display is now usable. It's lit, and there's space up there, so that's a big change here. And then I'll step back and take a look at this. And that's it. And we'll move to the next piece. And so here's my updated Unicron display. If you followed my videos or watched them before, you'll know there's quite a bit of a difference here. It's basically the same purpose, same figures. There's a few new figures over here, some Iron Factory, Legend Scale figures here. This is going to fill out a little bit more, obviously. But the big thing is the lighting has changed. Before I had 4 Philips Hue Bloom lights. They were kind of white and round, and it took 4 of them. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 of them lined up in front of this, or right under the glass, going up through the glass to light the shelf, essentially, to light Unicron. And it was okay, I guess, at the time, but I was never 100% satisfied. And then this new product came from this company called Govee, who is themselves a fairly newcomer to the smart lighting game, and have put the bigger brands, specifically like Philips Hue, on notice because of the feature set, the form factor, and the price. So I went ahead and saw them and thought, well, this would be a pretty good way to do this. You can see that it's a nice looking light. It comes in 6 segments, 12-inch segments that you can do whatever you want to. Of course, since there's only 6, there's only so much you can do that, but it does come with the 190-degree bend, so you can do like an L. The orientation is a little tricky, and again, there's only so much you can do with 6 + 1 segments, and you can't really extend them, unfortunately. But for this use case, I think they work really well because they light the front of the figure really well, and I could have done just about anything right here, but I decided to do this triangle just because I needed most of the light in the front, but just enough on the sides to light the figure from different angles. And you can kind of see as this, there's a light pattern is lighting up, how the light hits the figure and sort of highlights the features and the scope work all the way up to the top. And remember, the top of the figure is, 22, 26 inches up here away from the light, so it takes a fairly bright light to light this entire figure, and especially from more than one angle. And because of the form factor, it's very clean. It's, to me, very aesthetically pleasing, as opposed to a lot of smart lighting or really lights at all that have wires and housings that are just obnoxious. They're just weird colors or black or whatever. This, it's just a beam, and it's fully featured. Each segment is individually controlled. It's full RGB. There's brightness, dimming. The app is really powerful. You can do all kinds of things. This is obviously a very crazy scene or pattern that is going. It's not normal like this. I just wanted to show what it can do, as well as you can kind of see right here within the footage here when it's dark and then when it's kind of lighting up, to see just what a difference it makes, what difference the lighting makes. And because of the form factor, again, there's no, there's only one wire back here that you can barely see. That was really easy to hide, and I was able to put risers on top of the light so that the light goes up and can actually light these figures here. So I think that's really cool. I actually only needed to use 4 segments plus the 90-degree bend, so there's 2 extras left over from this. So it can be, you actually get a little bit more than what you see here for one light. And I'm not sponsored by these guys, and I'm not promoting this product, but I really like them. And yeah, you will see more of them very soon, actually. And yeah, I'm shooting this during the day for once to kind of give you an idea as to what it looks like during the day, how much light comes through these windows. In fact, it's too much, so I shut the blinds so they wouldn't wash out my camera. But yeah, and we'll move on to the next piece that's been updated. So I decided to, save the best for last, and this is the biggest change that I underwent, I guess, with all my Transformers collection here. And this is my Decepticon Billy. Obviously all Decepticons. Remind everybody what this is all about. The biggest changes, of course, is this lower shelf that was housing like a mishmash of out of scale with each other Decepticon combiners. Those have been removed. They're somewhere else. I'm probably not going to do any coverage there in this video because I don't really like where they are and I don't really like them, etc., etc. So they're not really worth the time to talk about. But because this shelf is no longer housing combiners, I moved the shelf up, and now it's basically a Legends G1 display. If you remember, these figures were in my other display until I got too many of them, and specifically when I got the Magic Square Menasor combiner on the left. That was not going to fit in the old display, so I had to move them. And so all these figures got moved here. I changed the Effects Hobby display to fit the space. Once again, I really like the Effects Hobby pieces because you can quickly change them at any time and reconfigure them. And not only does it now fit the space, the shortened shelf, but also gives me the options for the different levels here, the clear pieces, give myself some more room and to fill in the space vertically. You can probably guess where this is headed because we all know that there's yet another combiner coming from Magic Square. So he will show up here in the next few months, and maybe I'll do another video to sort of capture him when he's in this space. There's probably just enough space for him to fit without it getting too crowded, but there's still enough space here for me to add a few more figures before it becomes too ridiculous and having to change things again. So lighting wise, before I had some cheap Amazon puck lights in the top. They're gone, and I replaced them with a well, they just weren't doing the job, not for Legends figures anyway. So I went with IKEA Northfly, another one. This is, I think, a 26-inch ones that are made almost specifically for the Billy. And I'm kind of undecided on the Northfly lights, just given their cost, but they do light this shelf very well. You know, if you just want a clean white light that does the job, like, there's no question Northfly lights do the job. And especially for Legends figures, like, I didn't want to do backlighting, and I had some lighting from below, but it wasn't working either. But for Legends figures that are so small, I think the light has to come from the top and the front, so they work in this scenario. You know, it's a clean install too, very easy to install, but it is kind of stuck with one light. I think you can change the brightness if you have light there. You pay more money and get their remote and module and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think I like this display. The rest of this shelf has not changed much. The rest of this display piece, aside from the lighting. Once again, I've got more of the Govee Glide beams. is a stagnant color here, but you can see that I used the L shape all the way to the top just because why not? The L connector actually is a light in itself, so I went ahead and used it, and it kicks off a little bit of light to the top, you know, and they go all the way down to the bottom of the shelf. They're literally like 6 feet tall, 6 feet long. They're not actually changing colors, they're stagnant. I think it's just my camera doing that. So I put them on the sides here to give it sort of a uniform look, and of course it kicks out light to the walls, which I think looks really nice. And it can be any color, just like any other RGB smart light on the market right now. Now I did take the, I had Philips Hue light strips on the back, 2 of them, on the back of this Billy, and I found that to be, while it was okay and it looked decent, it was just, I think, overkill with the Govee Glide beams. So I took those off, and they're repurposed for some other thing. But this is what it looks like now. I do have, you know, one new piece here in the masterpiece shelf, and that's basically Starscream. There's plenty on the internet regarding him, said and written. I'll say that I like him enough to replace what I had here, so that's all I'll say about it. I don't see a whole lot of changes with this, so it could be a while before I do another update on this shelf anyway, but we'll see. And I think that just about wraps up all the changes that I've made. Thanks for watching.